Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second edition of an NRL Off the Bench TLT. It's good. It was good to have the first round back at Vegas. The Vegas round was absolutely unreal. I thought it was a couple of good games, and it's good to have another six games on this weekend to watch as well, and some interesting selections, which we'll go through now with our TLT. And we're joined by Brad. Welcome, Brad.
Hey, g'day everyone. How are we all going out there? G'day, Roscoe. Mate, bit of carnage out there on the old Teamless Tuesday.
Wouldn't be normal if there wasn't any, right?
100%. That's why we love it.
That's it. All right, we'll go to the first game, which is the Knights versus the Raiders. So for the Knights, Dylan Lucas has been named on the edge with KPP on the bench. Danny Levi named to start hooker with Tom Starling on the bench. Ethan Strange named at 5'8", and KO Weeks in the reserves. Brad, obviously the talking point here is obviously Strange getting named, which is beautiful. It's great to see a cheapie named. You can plug him in at 5'8", or you can plug him in at centre.
Oh, 100%. I think he's probably going to end up being the most owned player in the game at that price. And yeah, you've got your choice of either having him at centre or 5'8", depending upon where your cash is and what your needs are. Look, Newcastle looks pretty stock standard. What do you think of the KPP on the bench? Interesting.
That's a concern. I was going to bring that up as the next talking point. Actually, I don't think I could go Dylan Lucas. I just think with KPP on the bench, I don't see Lucas playing 80 minutes at 500k. There's so many better options in that front row, even in the second row forward. Sorry, second row forward and centres, I should say, better options at a cheaper price too. I think he's a wait and see for me. I definitely couldn't go there. What's your thoughts on it? You probably agree.
Oh yeah, I haven't gone through either of them. Look, if he comes a must buy in, I've obviously we've got some trades come round 3 where we can get him if he scores out of his skin and looks like he's going to continue on an edge. But yeah, you'd much rather wait and see on that.
And lastly, what's your thoughts on Danny Levi as a hooker replacement? We've seen, obviously, which we'll get to after, that Brad Arthur hasn't stuck to his guns as usual, saying he's only going to name one hooker and he's named both. 239k. What's your thoughts on Levi?
Oh, look, my only bad thought on it is, look, and I might well be going in, but the only bad thought is it becomes an AE absolute nightmare. When you're looking, like I'll be having the vice captain on Ponga this week, so if I bring in the vice captain loop, that means I'm going to be stuck with someone like Levi as my option at hooker, and that's not really, yeah. That's
where do
my
you see the minutes? Where do you see the minutes being split here? Do you think it'll be 40-40? Do you think Levi plays more? What's your thoughts on it? I know it's hard to gauge it, obviously.
It is, but both of those two hookers, so Starling and Levi, never were really that relevant before. Levi was never that relevant at Newcastle when he first started out. I know quite a lot of us actually back then did jump on him as a cheapie option, never panned out, never panned at Manly. Yeah. Look, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but that AE bit, as I said, sort of worries me. I don't know about the minutes because it's Ricky's roulette that goes on down there. The only one I will say about minutes, Morgan Smithies there looks like getting a stack of minutes. Like looking at that bench, Gula will come into the middle. Yeah. Good luck, Canberra Raider fans.
And then you've also got the talking about the old Ricky roulette. You've also got bloody Zach Wolford hanging around too. Now you got to remember he was starting hooker last year, and he hasn't been named at all. So a couple of bad games out of Levi, and who knows what bloody Ricky does. So it's the risk you take, obviously. So it's just hard. That second hooker spot is just really is. There's just nothing cheap there in those cheap options that I like. So anyway, we'll move on to the next game. Warriors versus the Sharks. Cheapy Kale Iro's been named in the reserves. Looking like he won't get a game. Plenty of love for Royce Hunt too, Brad. What's your thoughts on that? The bench doesn't look good for him.
No, you've got a 4 forward bench there. No backup hooker. So if you've got a Brayley as a hooker there, I guess that's sort of half panned out for you. But we know he's a moderate scorer, but he goes okay. 4 forwards. Yeah, Royce Hunt. I didn't mind him at that price, but with 4 forwards there, I mean, you'd think Toby Rudolph will come on and he'll be like a Tyrrell May. He'll play 50 odd minutes, you'd think, off the bench. That's got to eat into someone somewhere, and I think Hunt's going to be one of the big casualties.
Yeah. The other one that I know plenty are on, and I'm not sold on at all, is the fullback for the Warriors, Tane. Tui Picky, is it, Brad?
You're asking me, the world's worst pronouncer of anybody to do with, like, I can't. Don't ask me what that is. I could, Tane Tapikino.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Obviously,
know.
seeing Case due
Tapiki.
back. Obviously, seeing Case due back any time. So obviously, he's an avoid.
But he's only available at fullback, isn't he? He's not
Correct.
even about. Yeah, so there's no way he's going anywhere near him. Nah, move on.
Anyone else that took your interest in this game at all, Brad? I mean, it's all everything else seems to be pretty straightforward to me.
No, it is all very straightforward. We've got some, that Sharks back line just looks hot. I can't wait to see them back at home. This game might test them out a bit, but I'll tell you what, that looks a good back line. Roger will be an interesting watch. Most of us do have him, so
Yeah. See how long Mulatalo keeps his spot. Not Mulatalo. Who is it? Talakai. See how long he keeps his spot for.
Yeah, well, Talakai's the worry in the pack there, but his trial form didn't look bad, so
All right, we'll go to the next game, Storm versus the Panthers. So for the Storm, despite all the reports that he wasn't going to play, Cam Munster has been named in the halves. Joe Chan's been named on an edge. Kane Bradley reserves, Sean Bloor reserves, Liam Henry, cheapy front rower on the bench, and Summerton named as hooker with Tyrone Peachy obviously going to play on the bench as backup hooker for them. What's your thoughts on Chan here, Brad? He's a cheap option. There's not much around. Do you think he's a go, like with those guys floating around?
100% he's a go. I had him highlighted a couple of years ago in my cheapy analysis, and unfortunately, it never came through. He never actually got the start that I thought of, but his figures were outstanding as a youngster, and there's no reason. He looked great the other night too when in a trial. Just at that price on an edge for Melbourne. Look, the Melbourne edges, if you bought them last year, Alisi Katoa, and there was another edge there too, wasn't there, that also came through with good value for us. Melbourne edges have a history of being good value. Bellamy is a bit of a loyalist coach, so when he picks somebody, he does give them a run. I would just, I think he's a definite.
And what about Liam Henry? You plugging him in your front row? Obviously, there's obviously with no Romu Gregg's been not named. He's done a hammy. Could be back round 2. There's obviously Xavier Willison wasn't named, and also we'll get to it after, but no McKaylee either.
Yeah, I think probably he looks like being the one that might be more of that AE nightmarish sort of stuff, but we'll. If I'm scratching for dollars, he definitely comes into play. Yeah.
The last one I'm going to mention from this game, Brad, is Luke Summerton. That's been named as the starting hooker. Just going to say no go. Mitch Kenny is out with a suspension and he's back next week. So do not go near him because he will become enough, basically. Or he could go to the bench and become an AE nightmare. One of the two.
Sonny Luke Mark II.
But he's going to play 60 minutes, remember?
Sonny Luke. That's all you got to tell people. Don't pick Penrith hookers. Just remember Sonny Luke.
Anyone else from this game, Brad, at all?
No.
No.
I mean, I've got a bit of interest in some of them. Mm-hmm. The fact that Bloor and Bradley didn't make it, that just tells you how strong they are in their edges at the moment. That's quite an interesting one, isn't it, Bloor? A lot of money to get him down there. Well, not a lot of money, but a bit of money. And
I think it was a player swap, wasn't it, with Olam?
Yeah, but Olam wouldn't have been the cheapest one either. Oh, yeah, it was, but
yeah.
But still interesting that that somebody of that caliber can't get can't get a start. A lot of people were considering Christian Walsh in the front row. Again, didn't necessarily, well, he hasn't made the front row starting lineup there with Tui Kamika, but you'd think it'd be that it's just become very popular, hasn't it? This role, a bit like Toby Rudolph we just spoke about, where he'll probably come on and play a good chunk of 55 minutes, you would think.
Yeah.
And Tui Kamika will play some very limited time, just a bit of impact at first and then come on in the second half for a bit of impact, but that'll be about it.
All right, we'll move on to the next game, which is Eels versus the Dogs. Brad Arthur's named both hookers. Bronson Xerri's named in reserves. Drew Hutchinson in the halves. Sean Lane starting as expected. Sam Hughes on the bench. Josh Curran bench, and Jamin Salmon lock. We'll talk about this for a bit because there's a few points here I wanted to speak about, Brad. Obviously, the hooker position. Now, I know with the last trial that they played, Lussick ended up playing 80 minutes. When Hands came on, he played through the middle.
Yep.
And I believe Lussick stayed at hooker for 80 minutes. What's your thoughts on here? I don't like either of them now.
But, I don't know. The hooker's got me scratching my head position now completely. As to if you're going to go anybody, I personally think you should be going Lussick. Because of what you just said, that if there's an injury or anything, he'll spend up extra time in the middle, and Hands will come on and play hooker, and Lussick will play middle sort of area and assist out there. So if there is an injury, Lussick will be the one that benefits. It's a good looking Eels team. What does one say?
Bronson Xerri obviously not named. I don't think anyone's really surprised about that. Obviously, Carraz was always going to come back into that team.
Yep.
Thoughts on Drew Hutchinson, Brad?
Look, I like it. I like him a lot. But the reason I like him a lot there is because he there's no immediate person on the interchange that's going to come in and take any time away from him. It's not like he's going to get subbed out. As you go scratching for numbers in our centres, etc., he's got a great duel about him. So, I like him. Like him a lot.
Sean Lane. Now he's one I want to speak about quickly. Just looking at the bench, Brad, they've got Hands obviously will play some hooker. Madison potentially plays through the middle, often Gowie through the middle, but then you got Tuolangi as well. Is there a world where Sean Lane doesn't play 80 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, there is. Absolutely. I don't. Yeah. He can't play middle like he could, but he's not going to play the middle. Tuolagi, you wouldn't think he'd be playing too much middle himself. He'd be more of an edge player. So, they're looking at that bench. It certainly looks a little bit light on. I wouldn't mind betting a Moretti or somebody comes in, to stiffen up that middle area, and Tuolagi might drop out yet. So, if that happens, then Sean Lane definitely will play 80 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily. I'm typical Brad Arthur. I'm not convinced that bench is actually what will run out in the final. And that's one thing, folks. Always check the last minute team news, because some of these teams are going to change.
And always keep an eye on our page at NRL.com, because we'll always post the final teams 1 hour before kickoff as well. So,
yeah.
Last couple of points in this game. Josh Curran coming off the bench as he has been in the trials. Do you still like Curran at all coming off the bench, or do you think no?
No, I don't like him coming off the bench. I would have much preferred him starting. The cash generation was there. How much is the prop forward, Big Poasa? What about him? What do we know about him?
I don't know much about him. I know he came from. He's had a couple other clubs. He was at the Roosters at one stage. He was at the Dragons at one stage. He's never really been an option. Like, he's always just been that bench sort of back up front row forward. But it's interesting that he's starting. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know too much about him, to be honest with you, Brad. I really don't. I don't know anything about him, honestly. I have absolutely zero idea. He's at 239K. No idea what the minutes is going to be for him either. He could be a wait and see too. Probably not the worst option in the front row forward if you're looking for another option.
Yeah.
Given that he's starting, it could be a lot. It could be a lot worse.
Hell yeah, I think it could be a hell of a lot worse. There's got to be some points there for him. So
Yeah.
Palmer, yeah, I've seen him run around, but I don't know much about him. I'd have to go back and do a bit of research now. And now that I've seen him named there, yeah, Salmon.
I was going to ask you about him. What's your thoughts on Salmon starting?
I just, yeah, I don't know. He could be this could be a world beater move. Could be is the word.
Do we see
Yeah,
do we see the minutes being split between him and Kurt Mann, or do you see it 60-20 or 50-30? What do you reckon?
Just talking about Salmon. What's the difference between calling somebody a monkey and calling them a dog?
Not getting it.
Like really, just putting it out there.
I don't get involved in this shit. Latrell came out and said he wants Lenu banned for half the season. So and then you got John Hopewhitey coming out on his Instagram having his say on it all. Oh my God, fair income.
No, I do understand. There is no room for it in the game, so don't think, folks. Don't send me any hate because there is no room for it. So I'm not saying it for a second, but it was actually more a stab at Ricky Stewart for what he said, which I believed he got well away with that one. So yeah, no Bronson Sherry, the big Sherry sell-off is underway.
That's it.
And probably the big Josh Curran's sell-off as well. You know. But I'm not. But Curran surely he's got to play about 50 minutes anyway, so he still won't be a bad pick.
Yeah, I had him in my team up till today, and I've just gone and like for me, Lukey, who we'll speak to about shortly, I think he's a lock for me. So pretty much same price. Should play 80 minutes, so he's in for me. All right, next game, Titans versus the Dragons. So Keenan Palacia has got the lock spot. Bo Firma on Fafita's edge. Viliami Fafita on the bench and Tom Eisenhuth on an edge. What is your thoughts on Palacia, Brad?
Well, he's been in my team from since when Supercoach opened, and he's still in my team. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts. So he was always there, and he's still there. I know a lot of people didn't have him there, but yeah, man, he's a front row, second row dual at that price at starting lock. Isn't that a no-brainer?
Yeah.
Like he's got that lovely dual about him. It's just, yeah,
he was one of my first picks too, but I wasn't expecting him to start, so I actually took him out of my team. But I'll be having another look at him for sure.
Yeah, next.
Bo Firma, Brad. Obviously on that left edge until Fafita gets back around about round 4 or 5. Any love for Firma? He's in my team.
He's in my team. Yeah, sometimes you just got to follow the pack, and everyone else is getting him, so you might as well just jump on board and ride the old Firma train. I think
that's it.
Playing St George first up too. Like, come on. Yeah, there's some points here.
The other two that we spoke about, I believe, are both traps. I'm pretty sure you agree, Brad. For Viliami Fafita and Tom Eisenhuth. With Lucy apparently got his 3-match ban downgraded to 1 match. So he'll be back next week, which I'd say pushes Eisenhuth back onto the bench and Fafita out and Lucy into the starting side. You agree?
Yep.
Anyone else want to talk about with this game?
Look, nobody's going to go him, and if you were going to go a super pod, it'd be Jaden Sewer. He has looked great in the trials, and the preseason matches that he's played. I've been quite impressed actually, and his figures are actually looking good. So, but he's always got potential about him, Jaden.
He's a bit pricey, isn't he? He's in the 500s, isn't he?
Well, that's it. That's why no one's going to go him. So yeah. With all these cheap options at second row, everyone's going to go the cheaper options before you go in. But yeah, he's a pretty good player. I'll certain if I had him in draft, which I do, I think. A good option.
All right, last game is the Dolphins versus the Cowboys. Jack Bostic's named on the wing. Ray Stone at lock. Lolo at the front row. Ruben Cotter lock. And Thomas McKaylee not named in the reserves. Any love for Jack Bostock at his price?
No. Oh, who knows? I don't know. If I need him, I'll put him in, but I'm not sure.
His base is not great, but then again, there's a lot of centre wings that don't
No.
have great base either.
That's correct. Yeah.
I know you have a bit of love for Ray Stone. What's your thoughts at Ray Stone at potentially putting him in as your second hooker?
What's his price now? This has
I think he's
confused me.
I think he's 420.
God, another mid-priced.
Mm. But you
He's
could
not
plug him
hooked.
in as you could plug him in as your backup hooker too, Brad.
Yeah, man. Like another one that I really outlined at the beginning of last year, only based upon the fact that he had a terrific PPM the year before and some other great backup stats from New South Wales Cup, where I forget where he had been playing, but he was everything I looked at said that this guy looks good. And then he came out and just had an injury-riddled, horrible season that just never got off the ground. If he could put up that PPM that I think it was around about 1.3 from the year before, something crazy like that, if he could do that, then he would be a real option. But he'd be more likely to be a trade in for me after they have their bye.
Yeah. Do you see him splitting the minutes with Max Plath? Is that what you see happening, or do you think he'll play some hooker or a bit of both?
Oh, look, I think he'll certainly go into a hooker when the Marshall King decides that he needs a bit of a break. Look, he's a good player. He's a good player. He's hard, and if he gets a good run, as I said, he'll be worth a look down the track, I think.
Any love for Lolo playing in the front row? Do you see the minutes being similar to playing lock? Do you think it'll be still about what that 45-minute mark, maybe 50 minutes for Lolo?
Well, if he gets 50 minutes, he's looking at a price increase. Right, so what's he priced at? I think he's priced very low.
Yeah, he's
And even on a bad day, he still knocks out about 0.9.
he's 439. He's 439.
Yeah. So what's that? I think he's averaging his price around about 40, mid-40s there somewhere.
Yeah.
Would be his break even. So even on, yeah, he's not going to be a bad pick. If you want to pick him because he's going to won't lose your money. He might not make you $1 million either, but he's not going to lose your money. Particularly when you look at that bench, when you look at a Griffin Neame should come on and play a fair bit, but see what can happen if any injury happens. Lolo can then go onto an edge or go even into the middle lock sort of region. So yeah, if any injury occurs, Lolo will be the first one that they'll be looking at for sure.
I actually thought Griffin Neame was going to become. I thought he was expecting to be named in the starting side.
Yeah, was it Whisperer that was going off about him during the week? I think it was. It might have been. But sorry if I'm using your name in vain, but yeah, one of the other podmasters was very, very keen on Griffin Neame. But having seen him named there, I bet you they're backtracking pretty quickly.
Last one I want to speak about, Ruben Cotter. Do you think he's still an option at lock? Or do you think there seems to be much difference with him playing front row to lock in regards to minutes and work rate and stuff?
He has scored, believe it or not, he has scored better at prop than what he has when he's played lock in the past. Crazy, I know, but he actually averages higher at prop. But mind you, I don't think the amount, we just haven't found a good position for him yet. And he hasn't played long enough in the one position for us really to get a great handle on what his best position is. Don't forget the first year he played a bit of hooker, he played lock and then back to hooker, and then they diddled with him last year into the prop forward and then back out again to lock and then back into the props. Yeah, he's been a bit all over the shop, so it's very hard to get a real good read on it. He at the moment he's in my team, but he might be making way for Lolo. And there is another option there I saw somewhere in the prop boards that was sort of sparking my interest a little bit. So that one, certainly there is money to be saved in prop boards at the moment because, on a bad day, some of these props like Lolo, like we just said, what's his bad day? 55 to 60, 50 odds. And your best prop forwards, well, they're only going to be putting up, 65. So what are you losing? 10 points or something?
Yeah.
Whereas that extra 150K or whatever, that can easily go to bolstering your centre wing position, which, as we've seen in the first two games, is critical to get some high ceiling players in there. La Ruben Garrick, Joey Manu, wouldn't you just love some just about all of them.
Well, I did a major reshuffle with my side, Brad, and I've actually bought a gun in the centre wing.
I like it. I think
I've got on Marzu, mate.
Yeah.
I jumped on Marzu. I know he's a bit expensive, but I just know what I'm going to get out of him, and he's not going to let me down.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with it at all. I think you're going to get just as good out of a Marzu than what you will out of a $700,000 prop forward. So going cheap in the prop forwards, I completely understand why people and even myself have done it, because you've got to go cheap somewhere in order to afford all these players. Yeah.
That's it. Anything else you want to speak about, Brad, while we're on TLT? Any advice for anyone who's looking to fill up their team for the rest of the round?
No, not really. Just just a matter of getting the balance right, just taking your time, just trying to make sure you got your VC and C right. If you didn't use your VC with the first two games, which not a huge amount did. There was some people around that had Latrell Mitchell as a VC, but beyond
I had
that,
turbo straight C's.
Oh, did you?
No, I didn't, but I know people who did.
Okay, yep. So I think the Ponga Hines is a very popular BCC. I'm not really convinced about Hines playing in New Zealand being captain, but team should have enough guns and enough people there to be able to fill those spots at the moment. You've also got Cleary, of course, which you could also go, but it's just a matter of finding those cheapies that are in there, trying to avoid the traps, and rage straight away. It's all free trades at the moment.
That's it. It's all just remember, it's unlimited trades until the last game commences. Unless your player's already played, then they're locked out. So just remember, you can take it a game at a time. You don't need to go in there today and go, oh crap, I've got to have this all locked in. You just do it a game at a time. Look at the late mail, look for the final teams, and we're all around. If you've got any questions, jump on the page, hit us up with a DM, or just ask your question on the page and we'll jump on and answer your questions for you. Just in regards, another thing I want to mention too, we actually clicked over 1,500 members today, which is a massive achievement. We've only been running this group since about probably January last year. So to our sponsors, Bluebet, thank you for jumping on board again. To all our members, to everyone who tunes in and listens to our podcast or on Spotify or live, jumps on, asks the questions. To the admin team, Brado, Dave, Guy, Timio, thank you guys for making this happen, because without you guys, this certainly wouldn't happen. And I'm really happy with where we are. We'll be going live for most of our podcasts. We're on Spotify, we'll be on YouTube. We're on all the platforms. So jump on there, share the love, and just thank you again for your support. Really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Really do appreciate it, and we do appreciate Bluebet. Do check them out. Don't forget, if you're a member of our tipping or our overall group, which I think you can still join up until the end of the round. So what's the code there, Roscoe?
So the overall code is 953980 for the overall league. Tipping codes on the page. Now to win the bonus bets, you do need to be a member of Bluebet to win those bonus bets. With the overall prizes, with the jersey and the trophy, you don't need to be a Bluebet member. So you don't need to join up, but if you want to get those other prizes, we've got weekly bonus bets for first, second, and third highest scores each round. We're going to have overall winners first, second, and third. We've got first, second, and third overall winners for the tipping comp. So it's just jump on board, guys. Get in and support Bluebet. They're doing a great job by helping us out, so let's support them as well.
All right, well, that sounds like about it. That's it, Roscoe.
That's it. Thanks again, Brad, for jumping on, and we'll see you guys on Sunday night for our round wrap.
Yep, till Sunday night. See you then.
Good luck, everyone.